Hey everybody, Russell Westcott. Sure hope you enjoy part one of this two-part presentation. In this second part, we're going to go deep into a case study. Now, just one thing to note about case studies is it was taken at a point in time. Variables change, rents change, interest rate change, all different variables change. So make sure you reach out to us, contact us if you're interested in booking a consultation, or we can walk you through how the real numbers shake out. So sure hope you enjoy this detailed case study and a look into a brand new property, and I'll talk to you at the end. So this property, I'm going to do a case study. $470,000, all in, GST, landscaping, fencing, everything, $470,000 is what you would pay for that, what somebody paid for that house was $470,000. Now, don't be afraid, and I hope this microphone will work, and I hope we get some sound. I have a little recording here I'm going to share shortly. Sometimes I'm going to walk through some math, and sometimes people, when it comes to math, get a little freaked out, but I want to share a little audio recording about a 911 call, and I'm going to share a lesson of that as well. So let's just give this a quick listen.
911, what's your emergency? Yeah, my wife got attacked by a warthog real bad, and I need someone to come up with an ambulance and pick her up. Okay, sir, can you give me your address? Yeah, we're at 1825 Eucalyptus Drive. Okay, could you spell that for me, sir? I'm going to drag her on over to Oak Street, and you can pick her up there.
So, here is a gentleman that was scared of being wrong about spelling eucalyptus wrong, that he was willing to drag his wife over who was injured and harmed. So here's the message. Math can be your friend. Do not be afraid of being wrong, and don't have to drag a spouse over to Oak Street to get picked up. Okay? That was just a little bit of fun. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through some math. So here are just some of the things. This property, what I call, if it was in optimal performance means as follows, is that if you self-manage it and you didn't pay a manager, when you were rented, you didn't have a vacancy, and when you had no maintenance. Okay, so that would be what you would call optimal performance, right? You don't pay for someone to manage it, you don't have a vacancy, and you also have no maintenance in the property. That property cash flows at $800 a month in today's Edmonton current rental environment. Okay, now if you were to sit there and you were to factor in some allowances, which you always should do on a pro forma basis, if you were to hire a manager, professionally manage it, 10% if you were to hire that out, if you were to factor in a 5% in vacancy allowance, and if you're to factor in a maintenance allowance of 3%, you're still at a cash flow of 3.25. Right? So it cash flows. A suited house, brand new construction, everything under warranty, brand new top to bottom, intentionally designed with the tenants in mind, will cash flow. Okay? So now, what do we want to look at from here? The next thing we want to look at is, so there's some additional income opportunities. I know some people that have bought these, they've actually, they rent the garages. So there's an extra income for the detached garages. They actually will rent out pet fees. They actually charge for utilities, and then they pay the utilities themselves. So there are potentially other opportunities for putting some additional revenue in there, but I wanted to leave those off just in case you didn't get that extra revenue. Then I want to share it here as well as, remember, on the cost-saving opportunities if you manage it yourself, or actually I just talked to a good friend of mine in Edmonton, and he's willing to do these properties for 8% property management. And the reason he said he'll do it for 8% because they're a little easier because they're brand new. If you have no vacancies, and if you also, there's little to no repairs and maintenance on a new construction property. So let's do some analysis, and I want to do a really conservative analysis. I don't want to really, blow sunshine up on your screen, if you will. I want to do a really conservative analysis. So let's say we took this property at $470, we bought it, mortgage is $376. So essentially we put in a Gretzky, the 3 zeros behind. We put in $100,000. Now if I took a growth factor of 2% per year for 7 years, okay, and no cash flow. Absolutely no cash flow. Every dollar you got for cash flow, you just reinvested it back in. Let's say 800. Remember the first one, 800. If it was full the whole time, $800 times 7 years is about, what is it, like 74,000 bucks, right? That you just leave that back in. And a 2% growth rate. What was, Rich, you shared that in Kamloops, what was the growth rate per year in Kamloops for the last 6 years? Was it 6 years? It was 69 over that time, so we're talking almost double digits. On a compounded basis, it'd probably be a 7, 8, or 9, give or take, right? I wouldn't have to do the exact math. So is 2 in the realm of conservative? I would think so, 100%. So you take that, and you then put that in, so your value in 7 years is 540, your mortgage is 310, you factor out the money you put in for the down payment of 99, you're left with $131,000 in 7 years. Virtually no capital put into the property. Remember, it was probably under warranty for the first 5 years. Brand new. Okay, so you didn't actually have to come out of pocket to put a lot more capital into it. Then after that, so let's say you take it and you factor that in on a per month basis was $1,600 to you. Here's the question I always ask people is, how many hours or how long do you have to work at a current profession to make 1,600 bucks? Some of you, it's not lots. Some of you, it's a lot, right? Here is a repeatable $1,600 in equity and more over a course of time for 7 years. And on conservative, not even factoring in 50 to 60 to 70,000 of cash flow, you're making almost 13% compounded return on your money in a really boring 2% marketplace. Not too bad. So here's what I'm going to share with you here's the model that I'm doing with our own personal capital, and what I recommend people to do is actually buy 6 places. With the first one, you put in $100,000 yourself, you own 100%. The second one, you put in $100,000, you own it 100%. The third one, you put in $100,000, you own it 100% yourself. Properties 4, 5, and 6, you actually find a joint venture partner, they put in the money, you put in 0, and you actually split the profits. Anyone add all those up, that in 7 years' time, over a 7-year cycle, you will have $585,000, which will be enough to probably buy 1 property free and clear. And when you own 1 property free and clear, you just hang on to it forever, right? Free and clear, you guys are clear, you know what free and clear is? Free and clear is no mortgage. Free and clear is cash flow. And you don't have any mortgages on properties, that's just some major cash flow. Then from there, so I actually have taken it another step forward, is you actually build it into a 21-year hold period. I'm still a long-term holder, but I'm actually chunked it down into 3 7-year blocks, and every 7 years I get rid of my stuff and I buy brand new again. And I have all the benefits of owning new, with all the new home warranty, the low maintenance, and every 7 years I will transact my portfolio, and the oldest property I will have in my portfolio will be 7 years old, and I will never have that $400,000 to $500,000 cash calls on special assessments again, as if my oldest properties are in that 7-year-old mark. So after years 8 to 14, you raise more capital, you trade them in, you buy another one, you own 2 free and clear. After years 8, 15 to 21, you now can walk away with 3 free and clear properties. And you still have all your investment capital that you started with, $300,000 bucks. Did it get really quiet in here? Remember when I said looking at it from a different lens and a different context? Everybody says you need to buy a place, hold it for 25 years until it's paid off. I'm saying buy new properties, trade in new properties, lease them back, buy new properties every 7 years, but hold a portfolio of properties for 21 years. And you will eliminate a lot of the challenge that you will find of having within investment real estate of what I call, remember, the real math of having to keep putting capital into your properties after the fact. Okay, so last one here is, I just want to share with this is talking a little bit about the new paradigm. So here's what if I want to just boil it down, I know a lot of you took notes, I want to just boil it down into as follows. Remember the lenses? I've shared with you a new look for the lenses. Sometimes after you take the glasses off, you go, ooh, it's kind of blurry, right? And what I probably said maybe just was Greek. Just sit with it a couple days and just give some thought to it as well. If you actually think about it, so here's the new lenses that we want to look at. New construction, in a lot of markets work. I'd actually find out, I don't know all your prices here in Kamloops, but I would actually, if I had enough time and enough diligence in the market, I'd check this out. I would bet new construction works here if you have intentionally designed suited houses here. Side-by-sides work extremely well too, and some townhouses. Okay? Developing communities, intentionally building the properties from there, and then quality over quantity. If you walk away after 20 years and you own 3 to 5 free and clear properties, that is amazing. That is a pension plan that you can transition over to people, to family members. You can donate the proceeds to your charities. You do not have to go and buy 40, 50, 72 places, buy a property a month for 5 years. You don't have to do that. You just take a nice, steady, slow approach and you work your way through and you just build that portfolio out of keeping quality and keeping new. Okay? A couple further things. So the other new lens is you're still looking at a long-term hold, but actually you're just dealing with brand new properties. You have what I call an inventory. You actually trade in, trade up the inventory every 5 years. The oldest property in your portfolio is 7 years old. Now, and then the last one here is really, once you get a property free and clear, just hang on to it forever. Really, if you have no mortgage on it and you have to maybe put in some carpet down the road, you have lots of cash flow at that time that you can start, putting in the properties, putting in a lot of additional maintenance over the time for that as well. So let's build a little action plan for you based upon what we've seen. So what we've learned is as follows. So our action plan is some next steps. Look at it from a different perspective. Instead of looking at it, look from it, if you will. Change your perspective of what you're looking at. Can any of the things that I talked about today, can you maybe implement what you're currently doing? Another thing too is if you have to do a little course correction, maybe you want to address it now. Here's what I highly recommend every one of you do right today or tonight or tomorrow, whenever you can. Take a very critical look at the properties that you hold right now. Look at all the ages of everything that you own, the furnace age, the roof age, the hot water tank, everything that you in that property. Take a look at the age and think about when it will need to be replaced. And put a plan in place that you will have to cover that cash calls when that comes. If you know that in 5 years you have to put a roof on the place and right now you're only generating, $200-300 cash flow, you might have to save all that money for the next 3 years to pay for the roof. You hear what I'm laying down? I don't want you to be caught in a place where you have a special assessment that you actually have to take from other places and you're struggling to actually pay for a large maintenance bill into your properties. Be good with that. And then I also say this is probably one of the best things that I can have for some coaching for you is, if you really think about it, obstacles. Obstacles can be your best friends. Here is a great picture that was presented to me, and it is a picture of a giant boulder that's sitting in the middle of your road of where you want to get to. And this boulder is represented to me as a story. And this story is a Zen philosophy story. And this story is of a king in the kingdom. He decided to put a giant boulder in the middle of the road to block everybody, all the people in the kingdom, to getting into the kingdom. What he wanted to do, he was feeling that everybody in the kingdom was getting a little bit soft and they were complaining and everything was really too good and they weren't being challenged. So he put this boulder in to see how the subjects, the people in the kingdom would react. One person after another person came, and you know what? They looked at it, some of them bitched and complained and moaned and they actually got mad at the king for having this boulder there. They were actually just having nothing but troubles. Few of them tried to move it. They leaned in a little bit. They sweat. Oh, geez, it's hot and sweaty. I don't want to do anything about it. But the worst that the king got disheartened about is they actually complained about it. Then all of a sudden, one person came along and he looked at it, and he looked at it, and he looked at it, and he said, you know what? I'm going to go into the forest, and he found a giant stick. and he made a lever, and he sat there, and he got the lever, and he worked into it, and he struggled, and he pushed, and he worked for days on days on days on end to get this obstacle out of the way. And finally, he busted through, and the rock moved. And underneath the rock, there was a message that the king had wrote in there. And the message was as follows: the obstacle in the path becomes the path. Never forget, within every obstacle is an opportunity to improve our condition. When I shared with you earlier about some of those challenges that I have with my portfolio, it actually got my attention that I had to really re-engage back into my portfolio again. I had a mess to clean up. When you have those kind of cash calls, it gets your attention, right? And I had a mess, and I wallowed, and I actually cried. I don't know if you knew, but I cried. So did my wife. There was tears. And then once I got over the emotionalness of it, I actually got a stick, and I started moving that bloody rock. And I moved that rock, and the more I moved that rock, and the more I dove into it, and the more things I fixed, you know what, lo and behold, more business opportunities came to me. More talked with my realtor friend, another business opportunity came through, another deal flow came through. I've just got another opportunity of buying 3 properties by agreement for sale that just come on my desk. And I just go, man, there's so many things. By moving the obstacle that's in my path became the path to success. You hear what I'm saying? And that is one of the best and lessons that I want to leave off with you is actually just a real quote here. And it's from one of the best books I have read. I have instantly, not since Think and Grow Rich, have I finished reading a book, put it down, and read it 4 more times. And it's a book by Ryan Holiday called The Obstacle is the Way. And there's a quote in there at the very end of it. It says, "See things for what they are, do what you can, endure and bear what you must. What blocked the path now is the path. What once impeded action advances action. The obstacle is the way." Don't ever look at an obstacle of stopping you. The obstacle will become the path to success. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Russell Westcott. Thank you. Well, I sure hope you enjoyed that 2-part presentation on a fresh new way of looking at real estate. Part 1 was all about a little bit of the background, the context, a lot where the information, a lot of where the learning came from, a little bit of the backstory. And then part 2, we dove headfirst into that case study. So I sure hope you had a chance to dive into the case study and look at the numbers. Back in the studio here, got my trusted companion Scooby-Doo, and he's comfy. Fireplace on in the background. And that's what I just wanted to share with you. Just wanted to share a little bit of an insight into a new way of looking at real estate. That's what I'm investing my wife's and our hard-earned money into. That's the type of properties that we're investing in. And if you are interested in maybe taking a look at one of our new homes out in the Edmonton marketplace, you can always reach out to us at www.triurban.com. That's TRIURBAN.com. And I hope you enjoyed this 2-part presentation. And just one more time, big shout out to Sam Perrin and his team out in the Kamloops marketplace. Thank you for the invite and the opportunity it's presenting at your group. And if you have any questions, ladies and gentlemen, please just reach out. Talk to you soon. Okay.